Welcome everyone. Wednesday night, episode number 19 of So What's Been Happening. This one's going to be an exciting one. Down the beach at the moment. How's this? Glasses fogging up. Fantastic, isn't it? Great start to the night. I'd like to bring on a couple of good mates of mine. Berkey, how are you, mate?
Ripper, I'm really good, Az. Thanks for having me, mate.
No problem. Good to have you back, mate. I know you've had a couple of weeks off out looking at gigs and stuff. It's great to have you back. So here's another good mate of ours, Glenn. How are you, Glenn?
G'day, Berkey. G'day, Az. Great to see you, boys.
Good to see you, boys. Good to see you, boys. What has been happening? Just give us a very quick rundown, Glenn. What's your last couple of days look like?
Back at work, so caught up with you guys at a great gig on Sunday night, Dave Cosma. Then back at work Monday, Tuesday, batching. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Family back home Friday, I think.
Look out. So cheese sandwiches, no doubt, for lunch.
Cheese and veggie, mate. Saladas.
Beautiful, beautiful. What about you, Berkey?
Just back at work, Az. Just back to the daily grind, mate. So it all begins again. Exciting times, eh?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It sure does. Look,
how long are you down the beach for, Az?
Next couple of days, and then head back to Melbourne, ready to go for next week. So kind of keen to get back into it, to be honest. It's been a tough few months, as we all know. So hopefully we can stay up before we get hopefully not locked down again. With a bit of luck.
Yes, Az, to be honest. Should be a good one tonight.
It should be a great one. We've had 18 practices at this to try and get ready for this guest. Not that we haven't had good guests, but this one is an absolute extra special, Berkey, no doubt. And we've saved him till we've got it a little bit more tuned up. We had a few internet troubles last week, obviously with Laura Davidson, but that was a great gig, no doubt, or gig for us. Live chat. So very good, Berkey. Give us a little intro, because what we might do is we might not hang around too long with a chat. We might bring on our next guest, but before we do, let's go through who it is, and then we'll play a quick clip.
Yeah, sure. I first come across this young lad. He was in a bottle shop at Greensboro, and I was just filling up, getting me regulars, and he had that Beatles-ish haircut with the sideburns. I just got up a conversation and said, "Mate, you've got to be in a band. I've seen your head around somewhere." And he said, "Oh yeah, I'm in a band called the Pitchers." And I said, "Oh yeah, that's right. You're the drummer. You're the one that can't play guitar." So yeah, and just started up from there, and met Brett Wolfenden, and it's been the last probably 20 years or so. We've met up at gigs and become pretty established mates. So he's a good lad. Can't wait to get him on.
Awesome, fantastic. And one of those bands is the awesome Casanovas. And let's just play a little clip and intro in our next guest.
Burning in the night, burning in the night, burning in the night, burning like a nightmare. Hollywood riot, 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 Hollywood riot. Now you're just a zombie in a camera's head. Hollywood riot's gonna wear down. Oh, it's gonna bring it down.
Woo! How awesome's that? And we got to catch up at a gig recently to see the Casanovas kick off again at Stay Gold in Brunswick. That was a great little gig. So let's bring on the great man, Brett Wolfenden. Wolfie, how are you, mate?
Gentlemen, how are we?
Hey, Wolfie.
Welcome, mate.
Yeah, mate.
Great to see you all.
Great to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
on a lazy Wednesday night in Melbourne.
Precisely. It's funny what Berkey was saying, because out of that bottle shop experience, I met two other people who've been constants the last 20 years. It's just a small world, bit of a coincidence.
It sure is. And that great man that we talked about before, Dave Cosma, has jumped on the line to say a quick g'day, which is nice of him to tune in, which is great. We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago again. Let's kick off right back to where it all began, Wolfie, and I just want to touch quickly with where did where's your first memory of when music started to grip you as a kid?
Probably around the age of 6, I think. Channel 7 used to have little film clips that they'd show, like half film clips, and I think I saw the Beatles' Hello Goodbye there, and was interested in that. And my dad happened to be there, and not that he's got much musical knowledge, but he did actually own a copy of Sgt. Pepper's. And then my auntie was the one I got all my records off. So yeah, it just began there, really. I mean, I became a Beatle fan pretty much straight away.
And Wolfie, when did you work out that you'd never be a guitarist and you had to just be a drummer instead?
Yeah. I wish I'd actually played the piano after all of this lugging around that I've done. But I don't know. I just felt the inclination to play drums. I remember to gigs with my parents. The first couple of gigs that I got taken to, I'd be air drumming, not knowing what I was doing, but it must have just been something that I felt comfortable with and wanted to pursue. But I never really had lessons, and so I just picked it up. I probably would have been better served by having lessons, but it's just, you play enough, you kind of get your head around it in your own way. If you're any good.
All right. I think you've done pretty well for yourself, great man. So.
Oh, well, thank you. So,
The couple of times I've seen you, Wolfie, and also in other sort of clips as well, you seem, it's funny you say you haven't been professionally trained, you self-taught yourself. You seem very relaxed. And I made that comment a couple of times to Az and Berkey at the last gig I went and saw, the Casanovas, that you seem, despite the tempo of the music, you seem so relaxed and so in the zone. It's frustrating drummer. Yeah. It's great to see.
It's probably just experience, really. I mean, you play long enough, you get better over time. And I mean, you look at, it's funny, not that I would compare myself to John Bonham, but if you look at the early 1970s stuff of Bonham, he's pretty active in his shoulders, moving around and everything like that. And by the time you get to kind of the mid 70s, he's just upright playing, because you develop the muscle memory. You just become better over time, and your muscles become stronger. Yeah, that's all it is, really.
Have you got from where? I see Moon in you. I see lots of different bits in you. Obviously the Ringo thing, but you've got everything. Have you got a specific influence, or what's the?
Well, I mean, the main influences are pretty much Keith Moon and Ringo Starr. So everything else I've just stolen little bits and pieces from. But over the years, I kind of feel like I've become a lot more myself as a drummer. But again, it's just a time thing. I mean, I can take from other drummers, but I feel now like I'm thinking more for myself as a drummer. I mean, it's not that complicated, but that's just how I see it, really. It's a bit narcissistic, isn't it? Really, but yeah.
Wolfie, where do you feel most comfortable in respect of obviously being the back of the band, holding the whole thing together? Originals or covers? I see you in Marshmallow Overcoat. I've seen you in multiple covered bands as well.
Yeah.
I suppose not where do you feel most comfortable, but where do you really enjoy it the most?
Look, you're always going to enjoy the original stuff the most, because you're playing someone's original material who is in the now. And I think the benefit of playing in, I'll say, tribute bands, is that the tribute bands that I've selected, they're the ones that I grew up listening to those bands, and it almost is just in you. It's in your head. It's like, as you guys would know, just listening to music, there are songs that you have in your head that you just love, and you just know back to front. Like, it's funny, I did one New Year's Eve, I got a call at lunchtime from a Beatles tribute band called the Australian Beatles with a Z, who said, "Look, our drummer's just gone down. He's got a herniated disc. I've heard about you. Can you fill in?" And I had to do 3 one-hour sets, and I literally just walked in and played a whole bunch of Beatles songs I've never played on the drums before.
Yeah.
Because it's all there. You know, I don't need to necessarily. I mean, I don't mean to sound egotistical. It's just that because it's not easy, but it's just, you know, you listen to it, you know, 24/7 over a number of years. It just, you know, it seeps into your subconscious. You know.
And can I so first band and all that, did you have school bands and did you have, you know, rehearsals in the garage and all that sort of stuff? And how did it first break for you?
Yeah, well, in high school, I mean, my favourite bands were unpopular. So we're talking mid-90s. I didn't really connect with anyone there because my influences were the Beatles and the Who. That's all I did. I just listened to those bands. So coming out of high school, the first people that I met were older people, far older than me, who, at least by a good 15 years, who just asked me to start a band with them because I'd met a few of them. I think I put an ad in a paper to do a Who tribute show, and then I'd met someone, and from there, I just wanted to do a Who tribute show because I love the Who. But then this guy came, and we got along really well, and he said he had his own songs, and did a couple of gigs with him. But that's how I met Davey. I met Davey in '99 through a mutual friend of the guy that I'd played in that first band with. And yeah, Dave came and saw me play at a Battle of the Bands at La Trobe University in Bundoora, and then we just hit it off straight away. And yeah, it wasn't that long after that we started a band together called The Pictures, and that was really my first band.
I reckon I was at that Battle of the Bands singing too at La Trobe. Used to always go to that. Always see some up and coming through. So there you go, amazing.
Yeah, well, I went from like in my first year at university going, I wish I could play that, to playing it in the second year, and then meeting Davey. But I'd had minimal live experience up to that point in time. So I think the first Pictures gigs we did were, I think, an Even Christmas show could have been one of the first ones. Yeah. Actually, the first one was at the Greyhound Hotel. May it rest in peace. Yeah.
No longer with us either, that one.
Yeah, that was a great little venue.
A ripper.
Have you got a favourite venue, Wolfie, like obviously current, but also olden days, when you first sort of started out playing live sort of gigs, one that you sort of think of, geez, I wish we could go back and play a gig there? Or
well, I mean, I'm always a big fan of the SB Front Bar. I mean that's gone now. But I mean that when you were playing that at 12:30 at night on a Friday or a Saturday, and you just had people everywhere, and there was an atmosphere to it, and it didn't matter who you were. It was just, if it was good, then people were getting into it. Yeah, generally getting into it anyway. But had some good, really early Picture shows there too. One particular one where it was absolutely packed to the rafters, and yeah, I mean, that was a great time. Used to love the Hi-Fi Bar as well. Back in the day, did a great gig there with Johnny Marr and the Healers when they were out supporting Pearl Jam, and Ringo's son Zach was on drums for Johnny Marr and the Healers, so I got to spend a bit of time talking to him after the gig, which was really cool. But the Hi-Fi Bar, many memorable gigs there, and yeah, I reckon one that was pretty memorable was when we were the main support to the Vines, and Jet opened. So Jet weren't at that point in time massive, but they were kind of bubbling up, and yeah, I just remember that it wasn't a particularly good show for the Vines, and people were leaving. And I think I remember the guy at the sound desk was kind of imploring people to applaud to get them back out. And it was a bit, it was, wow, this isn't a particularly good gig for them. But there were lots of good gigs at the Hi-Fi Bar at that time, early 2000s. It was really cooking back then. Now it's called Max Watts, I think.
Yeah. I don't think it's even going as Max Watts anymore, to be honest.
Well, yeah, right.
Around him. Who would know?
Yeah.
Lots of fallen by this last little bit, so.
Yeah.
Sure have. Wolfie, just touch on meeting this great man at a gig. Surely you're always happy to see his face in the crowd.
That was
Always
3 years ago, wasn't it? Yeah, that was at the McCartney show.
Yeah, it was. I dragged my daughter up the front there and ran into you blokes, and you ushered me out the back again. I remember. Yeah. Get back to where you belong, you know. But what a big Macca, Josh. That was a
yeah. Well, you know, that was poetic justice that we were up the front, because Davey and I actually went to see him in Japan, thinking that he'd never come to Australia again, and it's the one tour in his entire life that he cancelled completely. So we're there, we're at the stadium, and we can see through onto the stage, and everything's set up, and there's got to be 60,000 people around this entire venue. So people are milling out the front. We're just standing there for ages, and we're just wondering, why aren't they letting us in? And then this guy gets on a loudspeaker, megaphone, talks in Japanese, and we're like, what's going on? And a Japanese person in broken English said, no gig. And we're like, what? And said, oh, apparently he's sick. And then there was a possibility he was going to do the night after. So again, like stupid idiots, we showed up at the stadium the night after, and wasn't going to happen. So he and one of the other guys got food poisoning in South America. So we were pretty disappointed, because we really thought he was never coming back to Australia. And he didn't come back until 2018. So it was still another 5 years before he came back.
Sterling show that.
Yeah, it was a terrific gig. And the thing that was funniest about it was Davey and I were here in this lounge room, each on our computers, just praying that we could get a half-decent ticket, because we had pretty good tickets for Japan, and you don't pay near as much in Japan. But I think probably because of how many go to the show in comparison to Australia as well. You know, where he's playing in Australia is 20 to 25,000, whereas in Japan he's 60,000. So without a problem. So we're both on our computers, and fortunately enough, within literally like 2 minutes, we had VIP up the front. We just thought, well, fuck it, whatever it takes. We're just buying these tickets, and that'll be our redemption in some sweet way, which was nice.
Here's my last stadium one, I reckon. Here's the last one I needed to see at a. Now I'm just going to go to pubs. I'm not going to go to any more venues. There's nothing else that I want to see, I don't reckon. So, yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. Was there a bucket list that you had that you never got to see?
There's a few, but you know, would have seen, love to see Hendrix and you know, Led Zeppelin, that sort of stuff. But yeah, there's no one else really.
Well, what about in your? Because I mean, the one that I'm gutted about, and I'd had contemplated going over to the States to go and see him, and now I really regret it because friends of mine did, was Tom Petty. You know, and that's the one that I'm broken up about. Yeah. But anyway,
Tom Petty maybe before 2000. I reckon he lost it a bit. I'm a little travelling will, but hey, I know I'm going to get, but you know, that, but
we'll step back. We'll step back, guys.
No, his last few albums.
I reckon you've been a bit hard on him there. I still think he and his band had it, and it just
love his playing. Ben Montench, and you know, they're great band, but went a bit fairy tale-y for me, I reckon.
Well, you know, he was playing on painkillers that whole last American tour because he was just in that much pain, and that's what did him in the end. He just took too many of them, and so he wanted to go out.
I remember Kuyong backing up Bob Dylan 100 years ago.
Oh man, wow!
Sometimes it's good to be old, but you can't remember it these days. But no, apparently it was a really good gig. So,
oh man, that would have been a blinder to be at. Wow.
Speaking of good gigs, Explain this one for us, Wolfie.
Yes, I remember. I think about that. That was at Ash Naylor's 50th birthday party.
Yes, unhand that woman. Before the lockdown, I reckon, that gig. That was probably the one we went to before lockdown.
That was literally like a week before. He just snuck that in. And then first lockdown happened.
Do you remember that night at all? Brett, you were well charged that night. You played your set, your DJ set, and then all of a sudden...
Yeah, I was a few sheets to the wind, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. That was great. Good one.
That was
really
good fun.
Just a gig that was on during lockdown. Wolfie, let's just touch on this one.
Oh, yeah.
With Davey, the cherry.
Yeah, that was great.
Berkey beat everyone and snuck a little ticket, or snuck in without a ticket.
I heard he dug a trench and just slid his way in.
No, sound engineer. Sound engineer for the evening. I was apparently. I had to hold a cable for the whole night just to say if someone was to come in, I had to hold the cable. But gosh, what a gig! That was a ripper too.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was really good. Did a couple there with the Casanovas as well recently, and but we didn't get to do a stream with the Casanovas because everything changed again. So I think they've stopped doing streams now at the Cherry Bar. Yeah.
And I have to mention, I actually said to a couple of people there at the gig, at the last Casanovas gig, and I've thought of it for a long time. If there was someone I was going to turn for, it's got to be Tommy Boyce.
What a great man. Yeah.
A genius.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah. Well, I've known Tommy for 20 years because when the pictures started was pretty much when the Casanovas started. It was almost at exactly the same time. So we were following each other up. But there they are. And Tommy then had his brother playing drums and someone else I knew, Jimmy, playing bass. And, knew him well. And, it's quite funny that it should happen that I be playing in the Casanovas now, which I'm very appreciative of. It's really nice of those guys to ask. And I think Tommy wasn't sure I was going to say yes, but said yes in a heartbeat. Yeah, absolutely.
Seamless fit too, Wolfie. It's been really. It's another energy, I reckon, too. We've seen lots and lots of gigs. The guys playing over there, but you've just fitted in there beautifully, mate. So more power to you.
Yeah, I think because Jaws has got a different playing style to me. He's a bit more kind of punk rock. Even bands like the Helicopters and the Dictators, when I say punk. Whereas I'm a bit more 70s swing, I think, and I think that suits where Tommy's writing is going now. I think it opens it up for Tommy, songwriting-wise, to be a bit more melodic, and that's what has happened on the last album anyway. He's kind of gone in that direction. So, I think it's worked out really well for the three of us.
And then when you put that Kiss anniversary band together, that was just phenomenal. I had you and Ash playing. You and Ash playing, and Tommy, and it's just that was another ripping gig too.
Yeah,
we didn't have wasn't it Welshie on bass?
Yeah,
from from Have a Nice Day.
We did a few of those gigs. Before the lockdown came in, we were going to do a 1980 tribute, so we were going to play the entire 1980 set. Which would have been so much fun.
Oh, for sure.
Our plans got scuppered by lockdown, but we'll do something again. Yeah, we're all
guys from Airborne were saying it. When we're at that last Casanova gig, you would notice the guys from Airborne rocking.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, they're great. Yeah, Joel and Ryan, they're fantastic. They've I've known them obviously playing through other bands, and and obviously they've toured with the Casanovas, and so it's all they're their fans and vice versa. It's great. Really nice guys.
I was saying they wanted to put a show together, so that'll be a ripper.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen this year? I mean, we just don't. Now, we don't know how quickly things are going to open up internationally. It may yet be another year before anyone can do anything internationally. So, I mean, we had last year, the Casanovas we were definitely going to South America. We had New Zealand gigs booked, and we were going to go back to Europe in September. So all of that got completely taken off the table. But that's okay. Everyone was in the same boat. So,
yeah. And not wanting to steal the show, I did want to ask, do you think it's okay is it going to help our Australian music scene if we just have Australian headliners? Like, I know they're looking at closing up the East Coast Blues Festival, but if it was just all Australian bands, I'm sure we'd pack it out. I think people would love it.
I think that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, we'd be.
I don't understand how you can have 25,000 or 30,000 or 35,000 at the cricket in Sydney tomorrow.
No, that's
and you can't have a gig with X amount of people in the crowd, even if it is Australian bands. Now, what's the difference? I mean, they're taking the risk going to the cricket. You know, why can't people take the risk going to a gig?
Sure.
I mean, we've gotten into this kind of frame of mind where it's sports culture over creative arts in Australia, and I don't see why they should be favoured any more than us. I don't understand that.
Oh, not at all. You put the money generated up between the two, and that music kills it anyway from all accounts. So,
yeah.
I'll let you have your show back. Sorry, yes.
No, not at all, mate. Not at all, Berkey. You're as much part of this show as I am, for sure. I put this platform together with Glenn to basically just jump online and have a chat, and it's great that Wolfie can join us tonight. So, Berkey, I know you've had a few weeks off, mate, but you're more than part of this, and especially from the music component, knowing that you know it so well, and mate, you're the one that talks the talk with the right music and talks the right language. But let's talk about something else as iconic as any other band. These three guys, Wolfie, you don't just sit on the drums, mate. You do so much more than that. Just give us a little chat about this particular gig in particular.
Oh, well, that was just a gig where I have this funny little side project that I couldn't possibly do without Davey, called Wolfie Sings, and we just play some of my favourite songs and I sing them because I haven't written any songs. I'd like to, but I haven't. And that night I was supporting Andre Warhurst of Spoonful fame, and we did the show and Ash was in the audience, and I just said come up and do one, and I think we did Across the Universe by the Beatles, and again in true Marshmallow Overcoat form, we'd never ever done that ever. So it's just another night of winging it, trying to get away with it. Yeah.
He's a ripping drummer. His voice is phenomenal too. So don't sell yourself short there, Brett.
Oh, thank you.
Take the acclaim and take all the plaudits, mate. That was a ripping show. Was it the gym? Is that right?
I think that particular one was at the Labour in Vain.
Oh yeah.
With Andre. Yeah. But we
Um,
had a good time.
Good time.
Another gig to talk about, probably one of the most postponed gigs over Melbourne in the last little while. Talk about keep us wanting more, Wolfie.
Yeah.
Sadly, this gig got postponed 2 or 3 times from memory. It was a long time coming, but you eventually got to get it done. And it's so good to see you guys perform in that particular lineup. A couple of picks from some of these gigs, just 3 incredible artists, mate. It's just an absolute honour to see you guys play and do tribute.
Thanks,
Not only pay homage to the great artists that have come before us, but you guys get to play what you love, and I think you guys just energy you guys bring to those gigs is just incredible. You absolute great connection, and it's just amazing to see. So hopefully there's so many more of these Marshmallow Overcoat gigs.
We enjoy doing it. Yeah, it's hard. Well, we enjoy doing it, and we do it when we're all free, which isn't all the time. So you've got that, and then you've also just got the fact that we are winging it, so anything could happen. And I think we did a show recently in Archie's Creek, which I think Berkey was in attendance at.
Well, that's good too. That's come along as well.
That's right. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
great.
And
Road trip. Yeah.
that's right. Your road trip. And yeah, well, I mean, we just started playing No Matter What by Badfinger in the sound check, and there it was. It was in the show. And I mean, it wasn't really. It just happened. So we can just keep doing that stuff. Yeah, why not, eh?
Yeah, just keep having a ball, mate. Loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one you don't mind performing in, which with Murphy's Hardware. Have you stepped in a couple of times with them, or what's been the original plan with them? Because I know they've had a few different lineups over time.
Yeah, the reason that Ben and I joined was because Ross McLennan and Nick. Well, Nick did. I did this gig with Ben Mason, who he'd recorded the Zombies album Odyssey and Oracle all by himself in his home studio, and he wanted to put a band together. And that album is quite a complicated album to play on stage because you need about 8 people on stage. So Ash played guitar. Nick Murphy played bass, and James Fleming played keys, who I play with in Davey's band. And then after that, Nick said, "Oh, well, I've got this band called Murphy's Hardware, and we're in between a few people. Do you and Ben want to play?" And we're like, "Sure." And it's just become this regular thing now. And it's an absolute treat playing with those guys. And you know, Ross is one hell of a genius, that's for sure. I have a lot of admiration for him. He's great.
Well, just got the re-release. It's been plays on the turntable, so it's been great.
Yeah. There'll be more shows coming up with those guys too, hopefully.
Sorry, Becky, we've got a bit of audio bouncing around with you, so I'm just trying to.
Yeah,
mate. A couple of sets. All right. Sorry about that.
We'll try again.
Yep. Try again.
So the one I was going to ask you about, Brett, was when you got together with the guys from Marshmallow Overcoat, even when you were playing along to, you'll do a sort of sound check in between or come back early from a set and just play along with what's playing on whatever the DJ's playing in between. One memorable one was We Are the Champions or something, or it was just phenomenal. And David, joined in, and you're there on your drums. Just unbelievable. It was great.
Yeah, that's a bit of a skill as well that you acquire over time. You get used to playing songs before you start playing, so you just got to listen carefully to the song because you can never really hear it that well, but you get used to it after a while. And yeah, I mean, if Davey and I are up there, we'll always start playing along as a bit of a piss take to kind of put off the person that's playing the music beforehand.
Welcome back, Glenn.
Thanks, mate.
Now, Lobby's on as well.
We've brought a good mate of mine on to the show in the last couple of weeks, mate. So obviously tonight being a big night, we've got a cast of thousands. Good mate of mine in the bottom corner, Alan Love. Lovey, meet Wolfie.
Hey, Lovey, how you doing?
Good, Wolfie. How are you, mate?
Very well. Oh, nice T-shirt.
Yeah, look, I knew a certain person was coming on this podcast tonight, mate, so why not? Why not chuck it on? I have about another 3 or 4 others of them too. All good. Loving it.
Very good.
Now, Wolfie, with most of our guests, I've like one question I ask all of them, and I'll ask you this, and question without notice. You're having a dinner party. Obviously, you're the main guest. You can bring 5 people, living, dead, don't care. Who are you bringing?
There was only 4 band members, cuz.
Yeah, I know. Well, you can bring Yoko.
Oh, yeah. So, dead or living?
Dead or living, yep.
Oh, okay. Well, look, it'd definitely be Keith Moon would definitely be there. McCartney would have to be there, wouldn't he? Who else? Wow, that's a good question. I think I'd invite the Marx Brothers along because I love the Marx Brothers. My favourite film trio. Geez, that's tough. Pete Townsend. I'd definitely have Townsend there.
He's up to 6 now.
Yeah. Brian Wilson, I'd probably have there as well.
Yeah, big one.
It's a long table. Keep going. It's a very long table.
It could be a very long table. Well, I'd have Freddie Mercury there as well, I reckon.
Yeah.
He'd be a
Progressive dinner, maybe.
Yeah.
Good from you, Cuz.
Thank you, Alan.
Wasn't me that said that. It was Berkey, Glenn. So
Yeah.
switch back on again. Hey, one question for you, mate.
Yeah, mate.
Wolfie. Seen on Facebook, we've got a lot of mates and a lot of friends that we can't wait for the music to get back up and running again. And unfortunately, with all this stupid COVID stuff that's going on, we're hoping live gigs happen soon and festivals and things like that. How long do you think it'll be before it gets back into full swing? Are you guys planning, like through the Casanovas and other musical mates? Are you guys still thinking that there'll be some decent music going on second half of this year at least, or not?
Look, it's hard to say. I think everything's getting booked to a degree, but we're all still playing it by ear, I think. And like we were just saying before, I think this year, if they can't get internationals in and we can't go out, it really should be a good time for music in Australia because even just like in December, people were just gagging for live music. And I think even though the crowds are small, the enthusiasm, even when we went up to Sydney just before everything kicked off in the Northern Beaches, just to have, I think you felt the appreciation from the crowd when we played at Oxford Art Factory, even though it was a small crowd, because everyone was like, wow, live gig. So, yeah, I think this year there's definitely a really big chance that the national music scene could flourish, you know.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we were it's funny, I was looking up different bands that I'd followed over the years, and hopefully they get to go back around again. And even just the local stuff, I heard the Baby Animals were going to have a travel. Super Jesus, all those sort of, it'd be great just to see them once again, at least in the next 6 to 12 months. And bands like yourselves as well that can really fill up, pubs and things like the Sydney Mine Music Bowl. That sort of stuff would be just fantastic to be able to get that back up and running again. It'd be awesome.
Well, we can only hope so. Hope so. I think it'll be. They're talking now about a vaccine being made available around the March period. Obviously, it'll take time to get it through the entire country, but mid to the end of the year, I reckon it could be really good. So I think people are booking for the end of the year. To the end of the year, for sure.
I reckon promoters can start charging more too for gigs, knowing that tickets are going to be at a premium, and you can if you go to 50 to 120, 50 people in a 120 seat venue or people venue, charge 30, 40, 50,
You're right.
and you'll get people that want to go and see those bands to go. I don't mind paying the extra.
Yeah, especially if you put a good bill together. Yeah.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to have Charles Jenkins played our place a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
And it was, it was $40 a head. We can only have 15 people, but it was $15 a head. It was $40 a head, and that makes it doable for an artist.
Yeah, absolutely.
But everyone gets, and we get to see some live music, which is great, and people can get fed and stuff. So I don't mind paying.
And also, if you can get more people in, then again, there's more money to be made, and everybody wins, I suppose. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was something that I can't remember the name of it now. It was meant to be happening even down at St Kilda Esplanade, I think in March or April, over a couple of days. And the problem was they're charging something bucks a ticket. It's horrendous. So I don't know how you get around that. And to Berkey's point, how many people are actually taking up those tickets? Last I checked, they haven't sold both days out. So I reckon if they had made that cheaper, yeah, you'd have people pumping through there. Maybe that's the idea with COVID. Maybe 2.5 minutes between each other. I don't know, but
was that St Kilda Festival or was that something else?
It wasn't. I don't recall it being called the St Kilda Festival. I'd have to look it up on Facebook. But it's 2 days. 2 days. First day was almost sold out. I think the second day, they're struggling to get it sold though. So it'd be interesting if they made that cheaper. How quick they get it done.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Brett, I wanted to ask before we do get kicked off. I'm going to throw this one in. I wanted to ask you about one of my musical heroes, the great Todd Rundgren.
Yeah.
And we're lucky enough to get with you guys and head to Sydney for that Todd Fest. But how did that all come about? Can I ask how that all come about?
That was through the organizer of Todd Fest. What was his name? I can't remember his name.
Michael was the Michael I hooked up with, the bloke that I knew, but I can't recall.
He was from Perth, but he contacted Davey and he said, "Would you like to put a band together for Todd?" So Davey was the architect. He was the one that got us all together, and it was. I mean, you saw the shows. It was like Nirvana.
It was, wasn't it?
The band, just the idea. The concept. No,
but even that rehearsal, my God, that was super. Blew me.
Yeah, I mean, even just being able to do that rehearsal at the what was the venue in Sydney? Frankie's Pizza. Yeah. And we were only supposed to play short, but Todd just wanted to keep going, which was wonderful. So you kind of got the show before we'd actually technically done a show.
Yeah.
And I think the beauty part too is that we're all very well versed in Todd's music, so it wasn't just going to be some pickup band that was just a means to an end. And we couldn't believe we were doing it, and we were trying to keep a lid on it because we were pretty excited.
Oh yeah, you went alone, mate.
Yeah, and like just the 6 degrees of separation that Todd has to really any artist, you could pretty much link him to any artist. So you've got this very rich history of everything that he's achieved, and really as a person, he was just like your uncle. Like he was just warm and enthusiastic and very easy to get along with. So it ticked all the boxes. It really did. Like, yeah, totally memorable experience.
Yeah, thanks for your time, man.
Just to touch on one of your biggest loves, Wolfie, the Beatles, as we all know, if you don't know, just have a look at Wolfie.
Speaking of 6 degrees of separation, I mean, about 4 or 5 years ago, I was watching, before I played with Todd, he's playing on stage with Ringo at the Festival Hall, because he'd been in Ringo's band for, a good 4 or 5 years. So, actually, I don't think Davey will mind me telling this story, but we were getting ready to leave the morning after one of the gigs, and Davey was running a bit late, and Todd just made the very what's the word I'm looking for? He just made a remark or an observation that Ringo has a policy that anyone who's not in the van before him makes their own way to the next destination. Which, he wasn't saying that like Ringo's a prick. He was just saying that that's just Ringo's way of getting everyone in the van before him.
All right.
Yeah. Which was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, Todd would just throw stories out like that. Like we were coming home from Katoomba, and Todd had a very public fracas with Lennon, a verbal with Lennon. So So Todd had said something in the music papers about how he didn't get this whole Lennon thing with him, being a protester and, getting on all these causes. And then Lennon wrote a letter and he put it in NME or one of the papers as an open letter to Todd and basically took the piss out of him. So we knew that. I mean, that's common knowledge. And for some unknown reason, he started talking about it in the van. And, I mean, no one had asked him about it. That was what made it even better. Maybe a Lennon song was playing in the van. I can't remember. But Davey and I are in the two back seats and we're looking at each other going, he's telling us this story. And then he told us the part that we'd never heard before, which was he said he was sitting at home one day and his phone rang and it was Lennon. It actually called him and said, let's call it. We've enough. And Dave and I just looking at each other going, what? Can't believe this. So, yeah, pretty funny.
Oh, yeah.
So what's
he had a million of those stories, honestly.
Wow.
One other one that was great was I was sitting in the Virgin Lounge with him. He was just sitting next to me and we were just eating some food. And he was a nomination for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that year. And he was just keeping an eye on the public votes. Not that the public votes had that much to do with the end result. And as it was, he didn't get in anyway. But Stevie Nicks was above him and Def Leppard was above him. And he just turned to me. He just turned to me and he said, Stevie Nicks, he said, remember in the early 80s, I went to go and see her perform and she insisted I go back to her place and she locked me in her bathroom while she was snorting lines of coke on the other side of the door, just blasting out these demos that she'd done. And I said to him, did she want you to produce her next album? He said, I don't know. And I'm just sitting there going, sure, okay, no worries, cool. I mean, what do you say? Like,
Yeah, cool. Nice to be a part of those ones, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you don't even really start it. He just goes. He just talks. I mean, I bet he's got a million more of them. Like, if you sat around with him for enough, they'd all just come out.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I just want to touch on, obviously, one of all our loves, but especially yours, Brett, the Beatles, and this special moment, the Beatles rooftop concert, January 1969, one of those classic unannounced concerts on a rooftop, and you guys got to reproduce something similar. I just want to play a little clip and then we'll talk through it.
Yeah, it was a fun gig. Yeah.
What a moment.
Yeah,
tell us a bit about that gig.
What's that?
I was going to say, what a moment. But just tell us a bit about that gig, Wolfie.
Got contacted by someone who asked us if we'd like to put a show together. He had a little setup in North Melbourne where he had a rooftop, and he said, I want to professionally record and film it. And Davey, Ash and I are obviously on board, and then we got Ross to play bass, and he had a friend of his from WA called Timothy Nelson. His name was Trevor Brian Cotton, and yeah, it was a fun gig to do. And yeah, I mean, there's been so much Let It Be stuff recently because obviously the Get Back film that Peter Jackson's recutting is going to come out very, very shortly. And yeah, there'll be more Let It Be hopefully this year for us too. If we get to do the show that we did a few years ago, we're intending to do Let It Be after we did Abbey Road a few years ago. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Yep. If the restrictions, if everything comes back to normal, that's going to be happening. That's for sure.
You've got that Hack Cram drumming there, and Just filling in while you were taking the mic views there, Wolfie.
Yeah, Graham's great to play with. I hadn't had many experiences doing double drums, so playing drums with Graham simultaneously was a totally new experience. Yeah, it was really enjoyable.
We get rid of Cram and Lucky Luster, mate. You've got it all to yourself, I reckon. You'd be number one on the list for most.
Yeah,
I actually really sorry, Wolfie. I was just saying I actually like the. There's a real lightness to your keyboard player to Billy Preston back in 1970. But
that's right.
Yeah. I was. What's your favourite song off of that particular rooftop concert? What's the one you love performing the most out of the ones they did?
Oh God!
What's your favourite?
It's so hard when someone asks you what your favourite is, especially when it pertains to the Beatles, because it's practically everything. But I love playing Get Back. I love Don't Let Me Down. That's a favourite Beatles song of mine, which was the B-side to Get Back. But I love them all. I mean, even Dig a Pony, I love playing.
Yeah,
they're all good songs.
Well, it was just another question. I've got my last question actually for you. I'm starting to become a bit of a Wolfie fan here. That's okay. So many songs. When I went through when I started following the Beatles a few years back myself, I didn't realise how many songs they had that people hadn't actually either taken up or just commercially just followed.
Yeah.
Have you got a particular song that no one ever talks about that the Beatles did that you go, well, this actually is probably almost their best ever song? I mean, for me, Bulldog or Across the Universe that you mentioned before are probably two of their best ever that hardly anyone ever talks about.
Yeah, definitely Hey Bulldog. That was probably one that sprung to mind immediately. It's a bit different now, I suppose. I think with the internet and I don't think anything's that obscure anymore. Not if you can just jump on Spotify and play Beatles songs. But yeah, I see what you mean by that for sure. I think Hey Bulldog's an underappreciated song. Not as much as it used to be though, I don't think. Yeah. But yeah, that would have been my answer to that question.
Good call, Lovey.
Thanks, Berkey.
I was we were running away somewhere a couple of days ago, and She's Leaving Home came on the iPod, and I must admit I had a moment. You just started tearing up, and you're going, "Oh, Josh, you don't realise how these things affect you still."
Yeah.
Really sad song, but just great lyrics, great writers, just amazing.
It's going to be interesting. Not that we'll probably be around, we won't. But in 50 to 100 years' time, it'll be interesting to see what happens and whether the Beatles depreciated or not, because it's still going pretty strong when you really think about it. Yeah.
But all the kids are listening to old songs anyway. Now we have 19-year-old parties, 20-year-old parties here, and they're all listening to, granted it's bloody horses and, arm in arm at 3 o'clock in the morning singing K-Sang and bloody horses. But they still play a lot of the older stuff. Younger kids are playing a lot of old stuff, so I reckon we'll always be there.
But I mean, it's not like kids, 20-year-old kids are going to be like partying the Beatles songs, but it's more like they still know the song somehow.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And it's like even that film yesterday that came out last year, it just keeps it in the main frame, doesn't it? Just there's another generation that's gonna be in there like 9, 10, 11 years old that have watched that film and have probably acquired an interest in the Beatles because they've seen that. So it's just keeping it relevant.
Yeah. But if we're doing our job as parents, that's probably give them the grounding, probably give them that grounding, let them listen to it, and then they can make their decisions from there, whether they go, and listen to Taylor Swift or whatever. Hopefully they come back with some real music eventually.
Yeah, but it's like when he's too old, if you know what I mean. I don't know how that works anymore because, in the 70s, did people give a shit about what was going on in the 20s? I don't know. I guess technology's a bit different now. Makes a big difference.
I think good music's always going to be good music. So I think we speak about people from the 40s and 50s, what they listened to, 70s, 80s. Like, good music is always now. And as you said, Wolfie, now with things like Spotify, the internet, YouTube, you can look up things, and even people who are fans of things, they'll put up things on their Facebook page, and you can hear things from that. And that's, I look for myself, like getting to know, obviously I know as well, but getting to know Berkey and coming to see one of your gigs and other things. I've got appreciation for local original music, but then is to speak tonight how eclectic are your music tastes and the influences you've had. So that's, I think a lot of people say at times the internet's not good, but I think in terms of keeping the past in the present, I think it's very good.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's just my only bugbear is just I don't like streaming services. I hate it, and I just don't like the fact that the artists don't get paid. And I'm not talking about the Led Zeppelins of the world and all that. As much as it's good that Jimmy Page came out and did recently, defend the artists against Spotify. But I mean, there was obviously a lot of artists that appeared at that inquiry from all different spectrums of lower tier success to no success whatsoever to massive success. But I just don't understand how someone can own a business where it's generating that much money, and the revenue that they're generating, all this money from is coming from people who don't get paid sufficiently. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's created a sense of laziness too.
Yes,
It created a genuine sense of laziness into the whole production of music and getting it out there. And
for sure,
it's almost like the magic's gone from it. Well, my mum always used to say that one of her favourite things, she used to go to the record shop. I'm glad vinyl's coming back, by the way, but she got every Beatles EP, Elvis, the Stones. They were her big three. And she said the best part about it was you get in the record store, you get home, and you're almost cuddling the bloody thing. You just don't get that anymore, and it's the same when they're producing it.
Well, you're always going to get people that want to go to a record store and buy a record, but with Spotify, if they changed the pricing a bit or more money went to the artists, I just think that would be fairer and
Would
the quality of the music be better as well then? If they
quite possibly.
And then it becomes a win-win then, doesn't it, for the artists and for the people who appreciate the music as well?
It's I don't understand it. I think that will change. I reckon in years to come that's going to change. I've got a feeling streaming will definitely favour the artists at some point in time.
But it's got to be just someone. Man, I understand that Jimmy Page has got. Well, I reckon you've just got to say for a week, we're not going to allow our stuff to be streamed. Like people like whoever it be, the U2s and those bigger bands that can afford not to have those amounts come in for a week, whatever it be. Just say, look, until people are getting paid, the people are just ignored that they're only playing for 10, 20, 50 people that aren't making their way. We're losing these people because they can't afford to play.
Yeah.
So
the only thing is I'm not sure how much the record company has power over the artists even. I think that's what it comes down to. I don't think they'd let it happen because I think that those big conglomerates make more money than even the artists do. Or
definitely.
Eddie Vedder.
It's a raw.
Eddie Vedder cracked the shoes 20 years ago with Napster and all that sorts of things. And ever since then, there has been a bit of backlash. But until someone actually, to Berkey's point, I reckon, put a flag in the ground and see how it goes.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm all for it. Go, comrade.
Just a couple of minutes left, boys. I just want to talk quickly about one of your most favourite albums, Wolfie.
Yes.
This one by The Who. What an album cover.
Absolute masterpiece. It's
now we are going to hit you up for a favourite track on that album.
They're all great.
I know it's hard.
I like I'm One. That's probably my favourite track. But Townsend is just a genius, and you know, he was one guy writing all these songs and demoing them all beforehand, and then re-recording them with the band. And yeah, I mean, Lennon and McCartney were two guys writing songs, but Townsend was doing it all himself. And I reckon he's a genius. But yeah, it's a masterpiece, that record. I highly recommend it for anyone who hasn't as yet heard that album.
Yeah, you won't get any arguments from us in relation to genius, that's for sure. No qualms there. Now, we talked a couple of weeks ago about album art and the return of kind of album art, and now that we actually get to see the album art and not a little postage stamp that we get on iTunes, now that vinyl's kind of back. And it's great to see this, an original drawing, and the Casanovas Reptilian Overload. Cannot wait to get our hands on this.
Yeah, that's that is from an American television show. I can't remember the name of the show. I think it's V.
It was.
Yeah, that's where they got that idea from. Which is great. It's a great cover.
And speaking of great covers as well, I just want to touch on this one. How good is it? How good is it, Wolfie, to be in the moment recording again and being able to record original music with you guys? I mean, Davey's an incredible talent, but you guys have a great connection as well. And to be in there recording original music again, you must just absolutely pinch yourself to say, how good is this to be able to do this again?
Yeah, well, Davey's music's so good. I mean, even if I wasn't playing on it, I'd be a fan of his art. But it's great to be able to get in the studio and record. Yeah, that was just recently in Sydney. Actually, speaking of recordings, so Casanovas are going into the studio for 12 days at the start of March. So hopefully we'll get something good out of that.
Fantastic.
And, and we'll be moving forward. So I love recording. It's so much fun. It's so different to performing live in every way, and that's what makes it so good. Even when you're all playing live together in a studio, it's still a completely different thing, in my opinion. But yeah, especially when it's more measured as well, and you're playing to click tracks and you're getting different sounds rather than just a live sound that is very echoey and big, because you can do everything. You can make the drums sound, you can tune them down and make them sound fat and dead, and when you play live, it's better to just have them tuned up because it's got more energy and power to it, and you play with a different energy live on stage to when you record. I love it. Yeah,
and speaking of being tuned up and playing loud and being iconic, what an iconic voice when you were in Wolfmother. Andrew Stockdale, what an incredible voice.
Oh, absolutely. He's written some great songs. It was a lot of fun playing in that band. Who's that guy? Get him off. Yeah. It was a lot of fun playing with Andrew. Oh, goodness. That was before the surgery on my face. But it was great. It was great fun playing in Wolfmother. A lot of fun. Yeah.
And I don't have a pick of, but Dallas Crane, we just had a little chat off backstage before talking about Dallas Crane. I completely forgot about that, you playing at Dallas Crane. But just tell us a little bit about one special memory playing with Dallas Crane.
Well, again, Dallas Crane I'd known from 20 years past, and when the Pictures first started, we were all in that little group of bands together that got thrown into the whole new rock thing that happened very, very briefly. But ended up going to Iraq with Dallas Crane and playing to the American servicemen and women over there, which was a wonderful experience. We played some shows. They took us out and they let us experience, shooting the weapons, and what else did we do? We went on like a Hercules, and it was crazy. It was crazy. But 14 days was about as much as a fortnight was about it. because after that,
Larko's
the
good. Scare the locals away, wouldn't they? Scare the Taliban away, I reckon.
Oh, I mean,
He's got
look, the conditions weren't fantastic. You get, it's all very regimented, and you're up early, and it's not ideal, but
condition stuff.
yeah, it was a great experience, really, really good. And then I've done shows here and there with Dallas. Tick the boxes. Played up in Queensland where we actually played with You and I and the Hoodoo Gurus, which was great. And and then just did a run of shows with the Gurus, which was good. So I just feel every now and then.
That's all right. No, there's not too many bands Wolfie hasn't been near, that's for sure. So testament to your diversity, Wolfie.
I feel like a whore, put it that way.
No, not at all. If Wolfie knocks back the gig, there's plenty of room for other drummers. So I just want to touch on diversity. It's not just about rock with you, Wolfie, and I know you lend your hand to many other genres, but one in particular with a good friend of mine who we had on last week, Laura Davidson in Carpenter's Tribute.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Laura and I met when she was playing with Bongo Starkey from Skyhooks, did some gigs, and I think Laura and I had this mutual idea that it would be great to start a Carpenter's Tribute band if possible, and we talked about it for years and years, and I just thought it was never going to happen. And then she said, I think I've got the linchpin that I need to make the Carpenters show work. And she's got this multi-instrumentalist who can play, saxophone, oboe, piccolo, play everything that you need to provide the texture for those songs, because that's the hard part. You don't want someone just playing it on a keyboard. It just won't sound right. So we got that guy, Jeremy, and it just kicked off. And I mean, we only got to do 4 shows before the lockdown happened and it stopped us, but every show sold out, and it was a real trip playing Carpenter songs, because as much as the demographic's going to be older, and there's nothing wrong with that, everyone's singing, and because we're playing really quiet, because to get the right dynamic for the Carpenters, you need to have the voices at the top, and then you need to have, those other instruments, the woodwind and brass and all that, as kind of second, and the drums and the bass are just down so low, so you're playing pretty quietly, and there's barely any guitar in Carpenter songs. Like, if the 24 songs we're playing, there's like 12 songs with guitar, and it's really not that much anyway, so you can hear everyone singing in the crowd, and it's funny. It would be great to do more of those shows, because such a great band. Laura just nails it. So
we were lucky enough to get to the Caravan gig, and everyone was singing every word to every song.
It was crazy. You could just hear everyone. Yeah, especially when you do Top of the World and sing. Everyone's singing.
Yeah, but even Superstar, everyone's. Everyone, and you're doing the whole.
I know. And you don't hear the Carpenters songs played by bands, because it's just so hard to get a Carpenters tribute band together and do it justice. So not many people try, and so that's another kind of string to the bow that makes it so much fun, because it's so unique.
Yeah, well, there's one thing for sure, you won't die wondering, Wolfie. That's for sure. Between plenty of gigs, and if you're not in the gig, you're DJing it. So that's another love of yours. Spinning the old vinyl at plenty of gigs, which is great to see. So many local little bars that Wolfie's spinning the beats at. So, mate, make sure you check that out. Wolfie, where are you next, mate? Where can we see you next in the next couple of weeks?
I'm at the Gem Bar this Sunday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. and I'll be having a few Bloody Marys while I'm there, because the Gem's a great venue. It's just on Wellington Street in Collingwood.
It's
absolutely
it's a ripping venue.
It really is.
And Castlemaine, what's coming up there with Davey?
He's doing a show on the Friday night. That's just a solo gig for him.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, but I
No
implore
problem.
you all to go.
Let's
I
promote
wondered
it
where
anyway.
you were going with that. I'm thinking, Castlemaine. Why hasn't he told me?
Wouldn't be the first time you've done a road trip to go and support another artist, Wolfie. So we'll jump. You can jump in our car anytime. We'll take you for a ride for a good couple of stories. But just to mention where you can catch Wolfie next, davielane.com.au and the casanovas.com.au. Check it out. If not, check out Wolfie on Instagram and a few other places. Wolfie, what's your Instagram?
I think it's Brett Wolfie.
There you go. Let's check it out. Make sure if you haven't seen it, get on it. And if you haven't heard it, you will be hearing it soon. So look forward to Wolfie. Really appreciate your time, mate. Thanks for coming on with us.
Thanks
Boys,
for
just
having
a
me, gentlemen.
final last hurrah to Wolfie. Berkey?
No, just I've got nothing, mate. Just keep on what you're doing. We're loving what you're doing. We love seeing you, the energy that you bring, mate. And boys, you've got to come and see the Marshmallow Overcoat. Wolfie was saying about the Who before. When he gets his moon on and Davey's got their Townsend going, it just adds another dynamic. It's phenomenal. So we'll have to drag you guys to the next Overcoat show for sure. So.
Well, come to Macedon because we're playing the Macedon Railway Hotel in February.
You already got tickets.
Oh, very good. Yeah. There you go. See, Sunday the 28th, I think, of Feb.
There you go. I think Glenn's going to drive, Al, so we'll jump in with Glenn.
Well, I tell you what, he needs something bigger than that bloody Yaris thing he's got. We'll have to. We're 3 rotund individuals. It's got to be another car, I think.
You might be
yes,
right.
I love my Yaris, Wolfie, but it'll get us there. It'll take a while, but it'll get us there.
Oh, crap, it will.
Thanks for coming on board tonight, mate. Look, you're a star, and it's a pleasure for us to have you on our show, mate.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's great to meet you, Wolfie.
I'm looking forward to announcing my appointment as head coach of Richmond in the next couple of weeks as well.
Mate, all right?
Cheers, Wolfie.
Got to keep your hands
Great finish.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Thanks again, mate. Thanks, everyone.